Ladies, gentlemen, gamers, League of Legends lovers, or haters, welcome back. It has been quite a long time since we've done one of these. And by quite a long time, I mean a little bit of an extended time. I think it was 3 weeks since we last did this shit. Because Riot had their little extended break. Because they deserve it. Because of all the hard work they're putting into League of Legends. Which, if you watch my patch videos, you know that would be a joke. But anyway, welcome one, welcome all. We're here to finally react to the patch notes again. This is going to be a doozy. This is going to be a doozy of a patch notes because this is 3.4 or 13.14. Now that number doesn't really mean much because it's not preseason, it's not beginning of the new season, and it's not mid-season. However, this is the patch which introduces one of the biggest things of the year, which is Riot's event. They have really one big event usually every year that they try and do. Sometimes it's a flop, like the Ruined King shit. Sometimes it's a banger, like the Spirit Blossom stuff. But this year, instead of doing another Versus event with like the Angels and the Demons, with Riven and Yasuo, that whole shit, and Garen and Darius, they decided to do an entirely new thing, which, if nothing else, I will applaud them for that. So there's a whole new game mode in this shit, a lot of new skins. This is the big event of the year as far as I could tell. I kept saying for a while, and I, as well as most of the community, for a little bit was thoroughly convinced that we would get a Void event. We didn't, we were wrong, it might be coming in the future, who knows. But regardless, this is the event. It's in its own new universe, it's Soul Fighter. So it's not Chinese themed, which I often say Riot leans towards because they're owned by Tencent, but not this time. This is completely new, Western gung-ho, fight action, bang bang, gun violence. Epidemic in US. But anyway, we're here to react to it and we're going to say our opinions on everything. I've already made separate videos on some of the stuff here, especially the Samira skin, but I'll try and condense that if I can, but you should also look at those videos there. So as always, I'm usually doing these live at Twitch TV/Tecnics channel, and this is totally not a big advertisement for people to come watch me there and interact with me. But anyway, let's get started. So, get ready. Actually, before we start, I also want to point out that this is probably going to be a while, so strap in, because they usually are. And I have my dinner here with me, which is some Deli Christina sandwiches, which are very unhealthy, 2 Krispy Kreme donuts, and some leftover pork that I made yesterday. So we have quite the palate today. But I don't think I'm going to be able to eat it because these patch notes are going to be so cool. So let's get into it. Get ready to rumble! I wonder if that means we're getting rumble buffs. It's time for the Soul Fighters to enter the Rift. And ironically enough, they've like shadow buffed Rumble a lot recently. Like, I think Rumble is probably in a really decent spot if I had to guess. So, also before we really get into it, this is where I'm going to say I haven't really played League. Without an event pass to be out, I really don't touch League unless I have to get a chest if I'm going to be topped off, but that's not usually the case. So, I'm not too familiar with the state of the game, and until they fix ADCs, which is what I cry about every patch, I don't really want to touch the game, even if there was a pass. I really don't like Rift anymore now that my favorite role has been shat on. But again, I've made videos about that too, so go watch those if you really want the context. But anyway, I'm not too familiar with what needs to be buffed or nerfed, but that's not going to stop me from spreading my excellent opinion. So let's get into it. Welcome to the League of Legends summer event, which is usually the biggest event of the year. Soul Fighter. Now, I doubt this because Riot has become lazy, but they could surprise us with another event, although I doubt it. Snowdown and Halloween used to be pretty big events, but they kind of toned those down. Anyway, we're excited for all of you to see what we've been cooking. In this event will be a brand new game mode, Arena, which, if you've been following League news, is the 2v2v2v2 game mode, which is supposed to quiet everyone down because for a while, the whole community has been asking Riot, you're so lazy, every event feels the same, we don't want Earth for the billionth time, and we don't want AR Earth for the billionth time too, give us something new, give us the old game modes back, the old Rift back, give us our shit. And Riot is like, okay, well, we're not going to make a new PvE mode, but we're making a new PvP mode, even though a lot of the times it's not worth it for us, their words, not mine. And they finally bit the bullet and did it, because League has been dying and League has been in some hot waters about it being shit, which rightly so. So this is where I've seen a mass exodus, but not from League, mostly from just League Rift. So I feel like a lot more people nowadays are just fed up with Rift because the balance team is doing God knows what. And a lot of people are honestly moving to ARAM and TFT. And TFT is kind of its own separate thing, really not really League related. But ARAM for sure is still within the League realm. And this is where I wish they had other modes back, similar like Twisted Treeline and what was it? Not Howling Abyss. Howling Abyss is ARAM. Twisted Treeline and Crystal Scar. Crystal Scar. But they don't, and they only have ARAM. And people are flocking to that because, again, League isn't as fun anymore, in my opinion. But I've heard a lot of people say that too. Even Tyler One has said that, I think, here and there. But anyway, hopefully this new event, game mode, will make people come back and stay. This is where it's going to be a limited time thing, but if it does well, they'll bring it back again, similar to what they did with Nexus Blitz. It's not going to be permanent, sadly enough, and I have heard some good things about this game mode just initially, to spoil the surprise here, but we're going to read into it and I'm definitely going to describe it. So, even though, again, I made another video dedicated to this, so go watch that one too. So, in this event will be a brand new game mode arena, like we just said, and a new in-client metagame, Tournament of Souls, and a whole roster of fighters supporting our brand new Soul Fighter skin line. Very nice. Speaking of fighters, make sure to keep an eye out for Nafiri, which I've reacted to again. Our newest champion, who will be looking to claim her place as the Apex Predator on the Rift. So Riot finally did it. They made another Darkin champion, and they made her female, and they did not make her sexy. Unless you're a furry, then I guess she's sexy to you. But to the rest of us, she's not. She's actually monstrous, and it's good. Realistically, all they, I think, did was just remodel the wolf texture, add a little bit of pizzazz to it, but we're not going to say anything, right? It's working very hard. But anyway, what's next? This patch also marks the beginning of Ranked Split 2. Make sure to check out the mid-season Ranked Reset section down below, which contains Ranked Kickoff times along all the changes coming to Ranked this split, which, again, I sound like a broken record, but we've made a video on already. Again, we'll try and condense it here, but this is going to be a long one, and I'm not going to go in depth, I hope. So, like the new Emerald tier, which is pretty cool. So now to your regularly scheduled patch content. This week we are incrementally raising top lane carry potential, lowering early game jungle gank power, and nudging down bot lane mobility. So when they say bot lane mobility, I'm assuming they mean supports, but let's see, because I can't imagine ADCs roaming, but I haven't played in a while, so who knows. We have some nifty quality of life adjustments to Zyra, Xerath, Lissandra, some assassin tuning, and another round of ARAM balance, which they do every fucking patch. Very cool. League won't be the only place for you to hop into the ring. Make sure to check out TFT's take on Soul Fighter with their new game mode, Soul Brawl, which I will probably, hopefully, end up checking out as well, because like I said, I can only stomach Summoner's Rift for so long, and I feel like after Arena gets played out enough, or if I'm just curious, I will eventually go to TFT, and remember, you can always catch it on Twitch TV/Tecnics channel. Tell your friends. So anyway, patch highlights. We're going to go over the skins at the end, because I definitely have some stuff to say about them. But anyway, the mid-season ranked reset. So I'm surprised they're not starting with Nafiri here. But anyway, so the season split 1 will be distributed the rewards during patch 3 or 13.14. I don't know why I keep saying 3. I'm sleep deprived. And all rewards should be distributed by the end of next patch on August 14th. Cool. I don't think people are foaming at the mouth waiting for the Anivia skin, but it is what it is. So, it's our first mid-season ranked reset, which overall is a great idea. What Riot's reasoning is for this is a lot of people get their rank, and you know, obviously aside from the super, super high tier, which has to keep up the rank slightly, you know, they have to play every so often, the lower ranks pretty much stagnate because the hype of the season dies down, especially towards the middle. This is where, like, the biggest action you're going to get is towards the beginning when people just start off, and towards the end when people are trying frantically to get gold or plat or whatever. This is where I think splitting it up is a great idea, and I completely agree with Riot's logic here. So, let's see. This is a new process for all of us, and we want to make sure you'll have accurate dates and times to work with. If you've been procrastinating your rank climbs like me, then these will be your hard-ass deadlines. So I don't know why they're saying this now, because it's pretty much already over because the patch notes are up. But anyway, July 18th at 3 a.m. local time. I don't know what local time is. I'm assuming that's local for everyone, which doesn't make sense. Ranked queues will turn back on, but ranked games will not count towards anything. You can still have your split 1 rank for these games, so that's cool. So feel free to use this time to basically just take a practice run and troll your ranked games. July 19th to 21, the time varies. Your rank will be reset and split 2 will kick off. So there's a 3-day window here. So see the table below. So I'm not going to really focus on anything besides my own thing, which is North America. There it is. So I don't know what PST is because I'm Eastern, but it's 12. I don't know if that's at noon or at night, but it's 12. And it's July 19th, so it's literally going to be rather soon. So by the time I'm up tomorrow, it should be done. If not, after work. But anyway, that's cool. So for us, for North Americans, it's resetting very quickly. Very nice. So the rank changes. Just in case you wanted a reminder, in case you missed it, Split 2 will feature a handful of major changes, which I think most of them are actually really good. So they've removed promotional series between divisions. So not between like inner division things, not from like gold 2 to gold 3. I believe it's from gold 1 to plat 4 or plat 5. No, is it plat 4 or do they still have 5? I honestly don't even remember. But anyway, they removed promotional series, which is a great fucking thing. Amazing. Amazing thing. Gonna make ranking a lot faster and a lot less of a grind, which, to be honest, if you don't think this, you're wrong. But Elo hell exists, and the only way out of it is grinding a shit ton of games because of the way the league system, or the rank system, has been set up, and lowering that, at least a little bit, I think is helping the majority of us. Anyway, the amount of placement games needed has been reduced from 10 to 5. I don't know if that's only for the mid-season reset or if that's permanent, but either way, again, they're just speeding things up. And with our short-form content that rules this day and age, that's good for our short-form content consuming minds because we have the attention span of a flea. So this is good. We've added a new Emerald tier, a new rank between Plat and Diamond. So this is gonna kind of equalize more players. I don't know the full specifics of it, and I don't really care, but I think this was a good change. So that's cool. And then Master and Duo queue restrictions. So the restriction on duoing and ranked and solo duo with an MMR of Masters or above is disabled until next patch. So boo-hoo to duos. And again, who are they fucking with this? The bot lane. Cool. So, finally, the new game mode, Arena. So again, I'm going to say this because I said it before. I've already made an in-depth video on this, but we're going to read it anyway. So, it's here! The new 2v2v2v2 game mode. It's launching this patch, I don't know when, hopefully they'll tell us, and we're excited for all of you to try it out. So basically from my initial seeing of it, I didn't play it, I didn't have time to go on PB, nor did I care, but from what I heard, I mean obviously it's 2v2v2v2, they essentially took stuff from Nexus Blitz, stuff from TFT, and stuff from from Summoner's Rift, which is basically the same as Wild Rift, and they combined it all into one. So it's similar to TFT, where you have like a health system on the side. If you win, you lose, or if you win, you don't lose any points, and if you lose some. Not equivalent to your health. You don't die out if you lose like one round, right? But essentially, they added TFT elements in this. They added like cards too, similar to TFT, where it's like random augments, where you will get like random like boons. It can either be like, it can be a whole bunch of shit. It could be someone's random ult. It could be you doing something periodically. It could be nonsense, and it's really cool because it's random, and this is where it's very much like a roguelike, which I very, very enjoy. If you know anything about me, you know I fucking love roguelikes, so this is getting me kind of horny. I heard they were already metagaming it, and there was a little bit of a controversy in the community about people sucking the fun out of this by like trying to hyper optimize it like the Koreans, and this is where I'm just gonna say my 2 cents on it. People have fun in different ways. Obviously, I feel a certain way when people take games too seriously, but who's for me to say that? What if that's how they have their fun? A lot of people look at me and think I take games too seriously, especially Fortnite. But they can go fuck themselves. This is where people have fun by super optimizing the game, and there is a pseudo-ranked system in this, so if you suck dick, you're not going to go against these guys, hopefully, every game. I don't imagine people smurfing for this because you don't get anything for the ranked here, I think. But this is where, like, you're gonna be placed with people of your level, and the people who want to optimize the game, who want to like find the min max of it, they will get matched with people of their same ilk. So I don't think it's too much of an issue. And at that point, you're basically telling people, hey, don't do what you find fun to be in the game, which is to be extremely good at it. At that point, it's so stupid. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it. But anyway, let's keep reading. In the new arena game mode, 4 teams of 2 players each fight one another in rotating combat rounds. So the cool thing about this is they actually made a full-fledged stage for it. And by stage, I mean different stages. Because they have this whole gimmick of different stages, different maps. I think there's like 4 different maps. And on those maps, obviously I said there's random augments that you could get that could change up gameplay with ultimates and stuff. But there's also random character appearances from the Soul Fighter event that have like a little silly like thing that they do, and it basically forces people not to camp around the map or to like move around. It basically spices thing up. I think overall, from what I know, unless they change things, that this is going to be really fucking good. I really like it. I don't know if it's going to have as much longevity as Rift or as ARAM, but honestly, this is a really good shot they're making, and I'm curious to see it. This is where, again, it might get kind of boring because it's 2v2v2v2. At that point, I mean, I do believe they introduced bans as well, but I think because it's just such a low champion pool, I don't know how many augments they're going to put in the game, but this is where the whole thing of Summoner's Rift is there's so many moving parts, it makes it so complex. A lot of, like, you could play a lot of games, and each game can feel pretty fucking different. I mean, not for me, because I just lose every game, but in theory, because there's so many things that could go differently, similar to chess, it's like no one game can be the same. There's so many options. When you make it to 2v2v2v2, again, and adding the augments, I don't know if it's going to be as it's going to have as much of a variety as Rift. I think it might honestly have more depending on how much they've put into it. So this is where I think it could reach into the realm of being a permanent game mode if it's loved enough. But look at what they did with Earth. They never made it permanent, but God, did they abuse it in the rotating game modes for the event. So it is what it is. But anyway, I'm pretty excited. I think they're doing very good with it. So after each round of combat, they will power up with unique augments until only one team is left standing, like a battle royale. Combat takes place on 4 different battlefields which vary in size, terrain density, and theme. Champions from the Soul Fighter universe will make occasional cameos, like I said, and sometimes they'll help, sometimes they'll hurt you, sometimes they'll violate you. But anyway, there is a leaderboard for this. There is a pseudo rank system, again, very, very similar to TFT. They basically took TFT's ranking system and health system, and then combined it, and augment system, and combined it with Rift, while adding stupid, silly minigames from Blitz. That's basically what it is. It's a hodgepodge of multiple things. So, then we move on to the Tournament of Souls, which thank God it's in the client. I mean, this client for a long time has been known to be a piece of shit, so this might break the client, who knows. But thank God it's not on the computer because I hate doing shit on the browser. But anyway, Tournament of Souls is a style rating focused combo battler that takes place in the client. As Samira, which is basically the main character of this event, you will gain reputation by playing games of League. So this is kind of similar, I guess, to the other events where you score up points just by playing, except before it was for visual novels. Here, it's actually for a game. So again, a step in the right direction. Very good. So as you play games of League of Legends, which in turn allows you to face new opponents and unlock new abilities for Samira. Very cool. To progress further in the tournament. The objective of the tournament is to become the champion by defeating all 10 opponents. You can claim rewards after each victory and take on new challenges after unlocking the story and expert difficulty. So this is where I don't think the rewards are going to be too crazy. I think for the most part, they're probably just going to be like icons and shit. Maybe a ward if we're lucky, but I don't expect great things from this, but it is pretty cool. Maybe a border, but I doubt that. But anyway, let's see. Interesting in learning more, check out our player support article, which we are not going to do. Thank you very much. So, on to the newest champion, Nafiri. So originally, when Nafiri was revealed, I thought she was going to be a jungler. And while League's player base does have a history of taking stuff Riot wants and changing it to do what they want, I do believe Nafiri will probably be a mid laner. I mean, she probably can go AD too, because who can't at this point. But I can also see her going as jungle if people will it, if Riot allows it, obviously if they don't nerf it into the ground. So, Nafiri is a mid laner, mid lane assassin, and she has a very unique kit, in my opinion. So basically, to just give the the TLDR version of it. Nafiri is a person who works with summons. Now, some similar champions to this is Heimerdinger. Heimerdinger drops his dongs down and they fight for him. Azir is another one. Azir drops his soldiers down, they fight for him, but they're directed. And then there's Malzahar. Malzahar drops his voidlings down and same shit happens. This is where Nafiri is a step up from that, where having like all the wolves with you is kind of the core of your kit. And this is where I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty unique. It's not crazy, to be honest with you. Like, her kit isn't crazy. The craziest thing in her kit is literally a point and click fucking gap close, assassinate, I'm going to kill you ability. But aside from that, she seems pretty interesting. She seems pretty cool. It's pretty fun. And she has a bleed. So, again, I'm not going to go too far into her kit, but from what I've seen and from the numbers, she seems to be alright. She was a little overtuned in terms of her wave clear, because she was clearing the wave like nothing and then probably roaming and killing people with her point and click gap close that can go over walls, by the way. Good luck, ADCs. So I think she got her wave clear toned down, but in terms of everything else, I haven't heard anything crazy about her. I mean, again, I'm not that tapped into League anymore, so I'm not seeing the Pansar Dragon videos where he's like, 1000 AP Nafiri one shot, huh? New champion OP? Like, I feel like there's always those stupid videos out on any champion that are kind of clickbaity, but I haven't heard anything too crazy with her, but she looks pretty interesting, and I definitely will be playing her. So, very cool. I think they did pretty good. And I know there's another Darkin champion coming. It's not Nafiri, it's Zolani. But who knows when the fuck she's coming out. But fun fact with Nafiri, there was a very old champion in development in very early League of Legends when I was but a wee lad, when I was a little Joey. Now I'm an old man. And there was actually a champion that resembled Nafiri very closely. And it was a champion that was supposed to do what she does, which is summon things, summon like a little army to help her, similar to Bel'Veth. But it never came out. And I think that's the spiritual successor to that champion. I forgot what it was called. But it's sort of a similar thing to Aurelion Sol and Ao Shin. Aurelion Sol is basically the spiritual successor of Ao Shin. Neferi is the spiritual successor of that little void weird champion that was supposed to spawn shit. But anyway, I think she's pretty cool. We're not going to go more than that because we're already going to take forever with this. So, moving on to the main Darkin of the game, the one that actually matters, and I'm not talking about Varus, even though he got updated recently with his voice. Aatrox. So what do I think of Aatrox? I honestly don't know. I think he's probably weak because that's the last I remember him, but again, I haven't played League, I don't know. So, what are they doing? Q damage increased, minion damage modifier increased. So they're increasing his bread and butter. Aatrox hasn't been on his AA game since the end of last year. That's a long time, by the way, because we're over halfway done with this year. Can't believe it either. Excuse me. Not only is his win rate for most players quite low, because he is pretty mechanically hard, there's also a criminal lack of a Darkin carry ADC in pro play. I guess they mean Varus. But anyway, in all seriousness, Aatrox has been lacking since we took down his self-healing, which is one of the things he has in his kit that is basically attuned to his lore. So this is where the champion has a fantasy. Aatrox's fantasy used to be, he fights you, he siphons off of you, he keeps fighting you, similar to Mundo in a way, but Mundo, you're supposed to not be able to stop him. Aatrox is you're not supposed to be able to kill him. It sounds very similar, but Mundo's is more CC based. Aatrox's is more just like, if I'm brawling you and you're brawling me, I'm going to outlive you. Like, I'm going to just siphon off of you. Similar to Vlad in a way, but Vlad is more of a nuker, let's be honest. So, this is where Aatrox's fantasy kind of got killed once they killed his self-healing. Because they already took away the self-res against the guy who's supposed to never be, dying. He's supposed to be like this massive ward, like, fallen, ascended Darkin who just loves fighting, is great at it, just kill, kill, kill. He can't be stopped. Even Atreus couldn't stop him, even though Atreus, fucked him up. So, once they took away the res, they had to give him something to really reinforce that fantasy, which was his healing. Once you take away that, he just becomes a shittier Riven, in my opinion. So, they need to give the healing back, which hopefully they're doing, but let's see. But anyway, we like to give Aatrox players power in ways that they'll appreciate without it being simply more sustained, which is stupid. So we're bumping his AD's ratios and wave clear up, which should help keep him on AD builds and increase his ability to carry. So, how much is this going to? This is going to get a 20% AD scaling. Wow. Interesting. Very interesting. And it's getting lessened early, but way higher later. Oh my god. The second cast of Q will still deal 25% more than base, and the third will deal 50%. And then the minion damage is now going up, so you can actually clear the wave like crazy. I didn't even know the Q had a minion damage modifier. So Aatrox, yeah, I would say these are pretty significant buffs. This is pretty good. Aatrox got decent amount better. I still think they should return some of his healing. I do feel like anti-heal is very oppressive because Riot had that big scare with like all the healing that was in the game. But there has to be some character that's good at healing, aka Vlad and Aatrox. There doesn't have to be much more than that. But aside from that, like it could be just those two, but again, they went overboard and they made anti-heal fucking crazy and I think a little OP, but it is what it is. But yeah, no, these Aatrox buffs, pretty fucking good. Pretty fucking good. Let's go next. So Diana. What I think of Diana, I think Diana was really good for a long time, and she suffered from some of the things that other champions suffered from, which was she kind of abused builds that she wasn't supposed to. And the biggest thing with that was Diana was abusing tank builds. And Riot does not like that. So I don't know if people remember, but Katarina used to do the same thing. Tank Cat used to be a fucking like menace to society. But Tank Cat got dealt with very quickly because Riot didn't like that. They don't like people who can go somewhat tanky and still get pentakills because it's kind of unfair. So this is where I think Diana, since then, she used to build somewhat tank, somewhat damage, and she still used to nuke people. So this is where I think she got nerfed from then. I don't really see her anymore, but I still think, ironically enough, in the times I do, in the few times I do, I think she's still a solid pick. I can honestly see them still nerfing her. But let's see. Diana has been weak since our adjustments to her and her tank build. Surprise, surprise. This has become a little more apparent over the last few patches to the point where she's deserving of a buff. I really hope they're not going to buff her damage, but let's see. In this patch, we're buffing Diana's carry potential so that she's more able to convert leads into wins. Okay, so I hope they're buffing her scaling at that point. So at that point, you need to build more AP and actually nuke people rather than tank. But Diana is supposed to be not super squishy, but not super tanky either. But she's definitely not going to be as squishy as a mage, at least I hope not. Because she is melee, she does have to go in for it. So, and I feel like her shield is not enough to really do that at really realistic levels of play. But let's see. More specifically, we're looking to show up her higher damage builds as well as a bit of early jungle health laning power. So what are they doing? They're increasing the shield by a little bit of a base amount, a little bit scaling, okay. And then magic damage per orb is going up scaling a little bit. I feel like this is a weenie change. Obviously, it helps the most in the beginning when stuff like that really, really matters, but I don't feel like it's going to be a huge change. And then what are they doing to her E? They're increasing it by 10%. So again, they want to be careful with Diana because Diana already was kind of strong, I feel. Obviously, her tank build was like a little bit ridiculous, but what did they do? They nerfed her tank build. They didn't nerf her damage. So I guess they want to push her more into the limelight to be a nuker where like, yeah, you can die, but also you can nuke, obviously. But a lot of people wanted free elo, so they abused Diana. This is where they're trying to get them back on through, I don't want to say a gimmick, but more of just like a little cherry on top. So this is good, but it's not great. But it is definitely better. Hecarim. What do I think of Hecarim? I think Hecarim is pretty good. Granted, I am biased because I watched Donal. I think Hecarim is a guy who can essentially do it all. I honestly take Hecarim somewhat as a better Lee Sin, because Hecarim is pretty good in the early game. He has great ganks. He has pretty good team fighting with his ult, which is easier to do than Lee Sin in my opinion. And he just overall does more than Lee Sin because he can heal more, potentially. Is kind of tankier, does AoE. It's actually a threat. Like, I take Hecarim as like a, maybe not a funner, but like a better style champion in a similar way to Lee Sin, where you're still going to have a lot of fun on Hecarim by the nature of the character, but you're also going to be somewhat useful. Because again, he has other CC aside from his ult, which Lee Sin doesn't, aside from death, his or the enemies. So this is where Hecarim just at his base value is better. I think it's just more fun to play Hecarim. I think Hecarim is really cool, really fun. Not my exact cup of tea, but I still play him from time to time. But anyway, I think he's pretty good. I think they might nerf him. I don't know what they're going to nerf about him. I would maybe nerf his damage. I don't know. But let's see. Hecarim has been doing great in solo queue, a little too great. He's currently able to build a high amount of damage while relying on the built-in durability of his kit from his W, so they're probably nerfing the W. if anything. Either his damage or his tankiness from W is going down. Combine that with the fact that Duskblade is his most commonly purchased mythic item. I never thought I would have saw the day. And you have a spooky tank assassin ghost horse. So it's sounding like it's a problem similar to what Diana used to be. Tanky but still killing. Since Hecarim is generally strong and one of his core items, Shojin, is getting buffed this patch, they're going to be toning him down. So, what are they toning down? The resist from W. How bad are they doing it? Early, pretty badly. So you have to remember, in this game, armor and MR is treated on a scale. It's on an exponential curve scale, except instead of going up, it goes down. So the first amounts of armor and MR you get when you have nothing matter way more than when you get it later on. And I'll give you an example. The difference between 400 to 600 armor is probably like a couple percentages of less damage you're going to take. Meanwhile, the difference between 20 and 40 armor in game is night and day. You're going to take so much less damage because it's very exponentially strong in the beginning and gets weaker the more you have of it. So the less you have of it early, the more it's going to hurt Hecarim. And this is a pretty sizable nerf early. I mean, again, it's not crazy because early game lasts so little, but he's definitely a little abusable now. He's less tanky than he was. They didn't really change much else, though. Aside from late game, he's losing 10. Oh, actually, he's losing 10 overall from every level. I just saw that. I thought it was only in the beginning, but no, it's overall. Yeah, so overall, Hecarim's a little less tanky. I think that's fair. Again, you don't want someone nuking you and being unkillable, but I think this is fine. I think it's pretty good. I still think Hecarim's fun. Jaximus. So, I'll be honest, after the Jax changes where they made him be able to build like hybrid AP AD and it actually not be troll, I don't really like Jax anymore. I like the old Jax build better. I mean, he's still the same Jax, if not better. But now, like, you do some weird-ass shit with, like, building AP and rushing E and stuff. It's fucking stupid. I do not like the new Jax that much. I liked when he just builds straight physical. But regardless, I do think Jax is pretty good. It's just, he's a very one-dimensional character. But he's a one-dimensional character in the same sense of Tryndamere. If you compare him and Tryndamere, I think Tryndamere is a little bit easier. Just overall, he has a higher skill floor and a lower skill ceiling, where Jax, if you're a good Trend and you're a good Jax, I think the Jax should fucking win every fucking time. But Jax is a little bit of a hard champion. He's basically a champion that tests your core mechanics up at the game. If you're good at core mechanics, trading, farming, this, and that, you can do very good on Jax. I think Jax is a person that can show your skill. But again, with the new build, I haven't touched him. I don't really like him that much anymore, so I don't know if he's really that good or that bad, because again, it goes into the realm of, if you're good with them, they're good, but at that point, do you deserve it? Like, how easy is it to get that good, or how hard is it? Where with Xerath, it's pretty fucking hard, because everything's a skill shot, so it's rewarding, right? They have to keep it strong because it's so hard. Whereas with Jax, it's decently hard, yeah, but is it hard enough, or is it easy enough where too many people are abusing it? That's the whole question. I personally think not. I think Jax is still pretty hard, but I don't know. I haven't really seen him, and again, I haven't played him. So what are they doing? Jax has been a strong laner in both pro and solo queue for a while now. With the upcoming Shojin buff, which better be crazy if they're referencing it this much, will be increasing the cooldown of his E as it currently has great synergies with Shojin, obviously. And we'd like to reduce the frequency Jax has access to this impactful ability. One of the most impactful abilities of his kit, if not the most one. So I do agree with that. We'll be reverting an unintentional mana buff that shipped with Jax update earlier this year. Wow. Interesting. Let's see what that is. So, the counter-strike is going from 8 to 9 seconds. That does hurt, but again, Shojin might make up for this. So, overall, even though it looks like a nerf, it might end up being a somewhat buff later on, but let's see. And then the ult going from 50 to 100, I mean, it sucks. Jax is one of the few people who I can see running out of mana on, but, you know, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. If you had 100 mana anywhere and you were using this, you were probably fucked anyway, because at that point, you can't use E, you can't use W, you can't use Q. Or you could use one of them, but that's it, you're done. So, realistically, this is fine. Karthus. So, I haven't seen Karthus touched, or at least that I can't remember. I think we touched him recently, but I haven't seen Karthus too much. Both just in the patch notes from what I remember, and in the game. Now, obviously, he goes ADC and jungle, and it's sad that those are his main roles, not mid. But it is what it is. I think Karthus is a really weird pick, though, and I think they have to buff him here. I don't think he's going crazy. Like, there's no way. There's no way they nerf him. But anyway, let's see. Karthus bot lane has been a very potent force. Of course it has. Not ADCs. Quickly overtaking games that he's given free reign in. I mean, that's the nature of the character. He's a very strong character if he's let to scale. Not to mention the fact that he's been picking in popularity. Interesting. I didn't think people would be attracted to the skeleton fuck. With these changes, we are aiming to preserve his jungle power while nerfing his lane. This is crazy that Karthus has pretty much become a de facto jungler. His main role is jungle now, which is insane. Like, again, I feel like such an old man saying, back in my day, Karthus used to actually be a mid laner. Same way Orianna was supposed to be a support, but look what happened there. So anyway, it's kind of crazy to think that this is where he ended up, especially for being as squishy as he is. But at a certain way, or in a certain light, you can see it, because if he's so squishy, if you leave him alone in the jungle where he can fester, then he's Gucci, and he can go to lanes and like take shit for himself. Whereas in lane, because he's so weak, he literally has no mobility, and his passive is meant for him to die. So at that point, you can argue like in lane, he's kind of just like a beat stick. His passive helps somewhat negate it, but people are good enough to where the passive won't matter. The kill is way more worth than the danger his passive presents. So it's kind of stupid design in general, but it is what it is. I think it's sad to say, but I do think his best role is jungle. But anyway, excuse me. So what are they doing? Well, actually, let me see what they're changing. So they're aiming to nerf his lane. Early monster damage and mana refund. Since jungle Karthus has access to blue buff and his jungler item for mana restoration. So the magic damage is going down by 2. And then 1.5. And then 1. And then 0.5. I don't think this does anything. I think out of every single change I've personally seen for Karthus, or for anyone I actually in League, I think there has not been a so insignificant change as this. Like, this is like saying I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, and then like I throw a paper ball at your face and I'm like, yeah, I won. It's like, what the hell even is this? This is so stupid. But anyway, let's see his E, Defile. So he gets less mana on takedown, on enemy takedown, but again, that's in lane, and it's only by 5. Which honestly, no, this isn't for lane. This is for anything, because I just remembered this could be on minions too. Yeah, this is actually, I would say, more significant than the Q, because the Q is almost nothing. Even though it is technically doubled, like, when you get them alone, it is double damage. But again, 45 to 43, okay, you're losing out on 4 damage. I think for most cases, that's going to be the make or break. It could be in some very niche scenarios, but it really isn't. Like, it really is not. But anyway, yeah, so Karthus got slightly nerfed, but realistically, this is nothing. Like, come on. Kindred. Okay, what do I think of Kindred? Kindred was touched recently. I do remember that. I think overall Kindred is either very good or very bad. It's the nature of her kit. She's feast or famine. If she's good, she's really good. If she's bad, she's bad. Like, I don't think there's an in between. And I think if they're touching her again, that means one of two things. She's either really good or really bad. And if I had to guess, because she's an AD, I want to say they're going to buff her. I hope. But knowing Riot's track history with how they treat my favorite role, even if it's in the jungle, they might nerf her, but I don't know. Let's see. Kindred has been a top-tier jungler in high skill brackets for a few patches. Our nerfs from last patch, while overall reducing her strength, did not have enough skew. So again, she's still too good. In this patch, we'll be nerfing both the base damage and cooldown of their Q, which is their biggest ability, their bread and butter, which we expect to mostly impact elite-level Kindred players. Interesting. Kindred's most common successful builds are pretty tanky, of course. Why is it always the issue when it's the tank items? Like, I don't get it. Very rarely did we ever have an issue with AD items. And they changed those anyway, too. So it's like, they were solving a problem that didn't even exist with the AD items. But they refuse to solve the problem when it comes to tank items. I don't get it. And even then, I feel like tanks are shitty anyway. So anyway, so Kindred's picking items, and it's not just Kindred, I've seen other people do this too, but it's Kindred picking Trinity, Black Cleaver, Wit's End, Therix, of all things. Trinity is like understandable, but everything else is like, what the fuck? But yeah, so I have no clue. I think unless you extremely buff her crit builds, which again might make her even more good, although I think she's only really good because of the builds that are broken on her, not because of her kit. And by builds, I mean the tanky builds. I think buffing her need to go AD or to scale harder with AD items, like crit items and stuff, is the way to go here. I don't know what they're doing, but let's see. Well, I read what they're doing, but let's see it in depth. So, base health is going up, base armor is going up. That doesn't seem like a nerf, but okay. And then the Q is going down by 10, and that's it. And its cooldown is going up. Honestly, the cooldown thing hurts, but it is reduced in the zone, and the damage going down is negligible. But again, death by 1,000 cuts, so we'll see if they keep going. I think she's probably in an okay spot now, I hope. I think nerfing her after this might be a little bit overkill. I still say this is probably fair if she's still strong. Excuse me. Lissandra! I see a whole paragraph here, so I don't know what the fuck happened, but I think Lissandra is a very interesting champion. I think back in the day, she was pretty cool, she was pretty niche. She was always known as low range, sort of, but with high potential. I've seen good Lissandra players, they're very rare, but they're very oppressive. Like, Lissandra's a very cool character. She's very, very versatile. She's a safe pick. She's not like an Omega nuker, but she's pretty good considering everything she could do. She's very safe in terms of escaping and engaging. She can engage and escape all in one and be safe with it too. Like, her ult and the way using it on her or the enemy gives you so many options. Again, her biggest downfall is her Q. Her Q, I think, restricts her ability, and again, you're either all in or you're all out. So if you go all in, you have to go all in. If you're all out, you're just playing like a pussy. You can't really do anything because the Q is your only tool. This is where I think great players at Lissandra have a lot of fun with her. Everyone else does not. But I don't know how good she is because I don't really see her because she is kind of hard. I'm not gonna say she's bad, especially because she's low range. A lot of people might take that as bad, but I think it's just a skill issue at that point. But let's see. Our goal with this set of changes is to smooth out rough edges for Lissandra. Her Q is a spell that most players don't realize doesn't slow beyond the first target. I did not know that. So we want to align the spell with player and spell expectations. So that's going to be a huge fucking buff. This may end up being a bit more powerful since her slow amount has been balanced around the first unit being slowed, but we'll be keeping an eye on this. So this is where they're doing something I like. This is where they probably think it's going to be OP, and it is, because they've based the power of this move around hitting one target and hitting it first. So it's a big payoff for a big win, right? This is where they're applying that payoff. They're not reducing it, which is rare, to being everything, but I honestly think Lissandra needs it. I think this is very good, and I think people are going to now feel, at the very least, like Lissandra is very annoying. If she hits you with Q after this, if they're going to do what I think they're going to do, Lissandra is going to feel annoying to play against. Maybe not, oppressive, but at the very least annoying. At the very least. So, another goal is making Lissandra's frozen thralls more responsive, as they feel as if they're giving up damage, and not feel as if they're giving up damage and kills. So their interaction on Fog of War and stopping prior to exploding ended up feeling like her kit was working against her. That's true, but that's just a technological issue of the AI isn't good. And we're now in the age of AI, similar to Luffy in the age of pirates, so it's only going to get better from here. We're buffing her R healing to ensure that this spell doesn't feel bad to cast on yourself. Again, this is where I feel like the Lissandras who casted R on themselves were the ones who were engaging, and those were the minority because those were the good ones. Like, I have seen a Lissandra go in to a full team. The whole team freaks out like, what the fuck, why is she going in? She roots them all with her W, and when they try and jump her, she ults herself, and then we come in and we engage the fight after her, and it's amazing. Like, it's actually so fucking good. It's insane. It's in a similar vein to, like, almost Kennen and Rumble. Not exactly the same, but in a similar realm where, like, they can start the team fight and their ult can really affect it. Because again, Lissandra's ult heals her, not for any crazy amount, but the biggest thing is it does AoE. A lot of people don't remember that Lissandra's ult, while it is single target, it's also AoE with its damage. It's actually very, very strong, if they're clumped up. So anyway, let's see where I was at. So Lissandra really doesn't feel like a Frost Lich. Last but not least, we want to ensure that her R effects happen responsibly to enemies foolish enough to enter the area of her tomb. So let's see how that works. So, passive. Thralls will stop at final frames before exploding, which I don't know why they did that too. Thralls will continue to chase down their target until they explode.
Very good. Thralls will now follow enemies into brushes if they were already being chased. Amazing. I see you coming. Thralls are revealed to enemies through Fog of War. That's fine. That's fair. You don't want to die to something you can't see, which is the big reasoning behind old Aurelion stars being viewable even if you couldn't see him. Which at that point, you can argue Nunu's ult, but it's an ultimate, so it is what it is. Anyway, Q will now slow all enemies hit. Huge ass change. Huge fucking change. Q will now cast from position post-caster rather than pre-cast, or post-cast rather than pre-cast. I don't know what that means, but I'm just going to assume it's good because this Q is now really, really good. And then the R healing is going up by 10, scaling a lot fucking harder, and it still has the bonus. This is actually insane. Wow. Maximum heal value will be at 30% or less health now instead of 0. Wow, so that's a buff too. Holy shit. Damage and slow application cadence 4 times per second to 16 times per second. Okay, so this is just going to make it feel a lot better. Updated logic slowly around stopping dashes. I didn't even know it did that. Wow. Yeah, so Lissandra, I think I'm going to put this in the same type of buff as Aatrox. Or not Aatrox. Who was it? Was it Aatrox? Who had the Giga Big change? Maybe it was Aatrox. I think this change is pretty fucking big. I think it's really fucking good. I thought someone else had it. It wasn't Hecarim because he got nerfed. Karthus is whatever. Jax got nerfed. Diana is yeah, I honestly don't remember, but I think it's Aatrox. Where I think this is a pretty sizable, decent buff. I think this is really good for her. Very, very nice. Milio! So I've barely played with this guy. This guy seems like the type of support, though, that isn't really there for laning. His main power comes in team fights, which, you know, fuck over the AD more in lane, I guess, sure, but I think he's okay. I think he's a little weird. I think other supports definitely outdo him in certain scenarios. I think he's not extremely niche, but he's on the niche-er side, where obviously his ult is pretty good if they have a good amount of CC, but it requires the AD to play more of an active role. But Milio is similar to Yuumi, where he's kind of just like a bitch, and you just get bitched around in lane. I feel like his laning is not that crazy, but I could be wrong because, again, I haven't played with him too much. So, what do they do? Milio is overall pretty balanced for most players. Cool, albeit with a bit of room to move down. That said, he does have a high risk of overtaking pro play in the near future. Oh, they know. In this patch, we're targeting pro skill skewed parts of his kit that scale strongly with coordination and the skill level of your ally. Similar to Callista. We'd rather preserve his signature output such as his AoE cleanse and bonus attack range and reduce his less unique tools. So ironically enough, I think his less unique tools at least keep him functional. I think if they take those away, he literally just becomes a spam champion, right? And spam champion in the sense of you're only picking him for this at this point. He can really do nothing else. He's only for this. And that's not to say he should be good at everything. It's just for the other things, yeah, it was there. Maybe I could be wrong here and it could be bordering on OP, but I don't think it is. But this is where if they take those away and they're wrong and it's not OP, he's really just going to be an ult bot and a range bot. Like his Q is going to be like, aside from the CC, the damage isn't going to matter. The passive is going to suck. Like at that point, you're essentially making those parts of the kit more and more unfun because they just don't matter, aside from the CC part. Like if they make the damage of the passive like useless, at that point, what's the point of even having it, right? But let's see. So his passive, 25 to 80 to 15 to 50. I feel like that's a decent amount of damage you're losing. I mean, it still scales the same, but just from base values, I feel like it's pretty decent you're losing that because this could be applied pretty often and pretty simply, so it adds up over time. I think this is a little bit harsh, but let's keep going. The bonus move speed of his E, which is basically just making him a Karma copycat, is going down, which is very interesting, but I think this is fair. Move speed is very strong, and this is fair. But yeah, Milio's slightly worse. If they nerf him again, I think it's too much, but this is, we're going to say it's okay. Rek'Sai. So, I don't even know what the fuck they're doing with Rek'Sai, I'll be honest. Rek'Sai had a whole slew of things, and I mention this every time. You know, when she started out, she built AP because she had a 1-to-1 scaling on her 2-second Q. burrowed, and it was OP. It was an AP nuke. Then she became a tank. Then she became an assassin. Then she became a bruiser. God knows what the fuck she is now. I don't know what she's doing. I don't think she's strong, but I could be wrong. But I really don't think she's strong. But let's see. Rek'Sai gained a lot of power. I was wrong. And while she was nerfed, it didn't go far enough. So this is interesting because I thought they nerfed what the fuck was it called? The stupid thing that makes you jump on them. Not Quick Blade. That's Nafiri. I'm forgetting the item. Fuck. It's the assassin item that you can like dash them. Prowler's Claw. Prowler's Claw. So they nerfed Prowler's Claw and they kind of attributed all of Rek'Sai's power to Prowler's Claw, but I guess that wasn't the case. I guess her kit was still strong too. So, what are they doing? We're targeting her overwhelmingly early gank power, interesting and not Kane's, since she already has such great target access. That's true. She doesn't need to also guarantee the kill quite so easily. So what are they doing? Her damage is going down by 5. Again, death by 1,000 cuts. So they're doing the Gwen treatment to her. And I'm not saying that's what they did to Gwen, even though I feel like it is, but it's just the play on words with what they say with Gwen. Death by 1,000 cuts. But anyway. And then her E is going down by, wait, what the fuck? Huh? Are my eyes working? I know I'm like sleep deprived, but wait a minute. 75, 25, 55 to 5. Wow. That is a gutting. That is actually gutting. And on top of that, they're nerfing the scaling. That is insane. I don't think I've seen ever such a big number jump. So simultaneously, I think I've seen one of the most insignificant nerfs and one of the most like far-reaching or one of the most far-reaching nerfs and one of the most insignificant nerfs too. Wow. This is one is like a slap on the wrist. This is like a punch to the fucking dick. Except she doesn't have one because she's a girl. What's the fuck with it? Also, can we see on my friends list I have that guy on my friends list? Let me see. Yeah, look, there he is. Belveth Void Dussy. I would be all up in that Void Dussy. But anyway, yeah, Rek'Sai seems like she got smacked up. And I didn't really see her to begin with, so I'm assuming this is pro skewed, but they didn't say that. Yeah, wow, this is big nerf. Interesting. Oh my god, they're touching Rel again. So they gave Rel some treatment because she was like really shitty feeling to play. And apparently I thought they did a good job, but I think she was a little bit too strong. If she's still strong, I'll be surprised because I don't think many supports, let alone tank supports, are doing good right now. I mean, again, I always rant that the bot lane is fucked. I rant that the bot lane is no longer traditional. It's mages, assassins, whoever the fuck you want down there, not actual supports or ADs or the stupid enough people to go AD. But this is where you have to have some people who are good as traditional supports. Rel was one of them, and now they're getting rid of that, and I don't know why. You have to have a person who's tankier than all the other tanks, right? Especially when it's her thematic. Rel's thematic, her fantasy, I think they did very well. She is a fucking tanky bitch. Now again, I think they should put that onto Nautilus, but Nautilus has a different niche. But thematically speaking, I think they did pretty good with her. But let's see what they're doing. I'm assuming they're going to nerf her. There's no way they buff her. Let's see. Our goal last patch was to increase the power of Rel Jungle. Oh, this stupid shit. I forgot about this. I don't know what they're doing. And decrease her strength as a support. So no longer is she a fucking support. This is so stupid. We achieved both of those goals. We didn't quite nerf Rel's support enough. Dude, they hate the bot lane. They hate the fucking bot lane. As many pro leagues around the world are using 13.14 as their playoff patch, we want to dial in how powerful she is in pro before we're able to collect data heading into Worlds. So, they want her to be a strong pick but less overbearing. No, they just don't want her as support. Let's be real. We're reducing Rel's baseline armor, so she will have below average tank stats for a support, since both her passive and W give her more of them. It's incredibly important that Rel feels like a fast horse rider and each of her button presses carries enough damage to feel good. I thought her whole deal was supposed to be similar to Nautilus, where she was supposed to be tanky, supposed to have setups, supposed to be good with an ally, and not to do damage. What the fuck? I feel like they're changing her whole identity. But anyway.
Each of her individual numbers are already quite low, so we're targeting another balance lever. What the fuck? So what are they saying about damage? But anyway, she had base stat 39 armor, which is pretty high, from what I know. And they're lowering that to 36. And like I said before, the less armor you have, the more the change affects you. So this is pretty big. And then the passive, you're stealing less armor in MR. See, at that point, what the fuck is the point of this passive? Because I don't think this applies to the jungle. Or it does, but I don't think the jungle has too many resists either way. And then the minimum steal is going even lesser. And then the maximum is going from 15 to 10. I don't know what the fuck they're doing with it. I feel like these they're obviously nerfs. They're not crazy nerfs, except the armor one. I think the armor one is the bigger one. But this is where it's just like, I question, what the fuck are they doing with this character? This was supposed to be a support. Now it's a hodgepodge, like, Frankenstein jungler. What the fuck is going on with this? Anyway, Kitty Cat Rengar. What I think of Kitty Cat Rengar, I know he builds somewhat crit, but I don't see him unless you're cheesing or unless you're trying to be stupid. So I think they have to buff him. There's no way. Let's see. Rengar just loves to cuddle with squishy champions and then collect their teeth for his necklace. That's very morbid, but okay. We're glad he's building damage items. Yeah, because Rengar tank used to be a fucking thing, and AP, and I still think it is. He has a unique love for critical strike chance, one of the few assassins who does, and plays as an assassin. However, he's succeeding too well in elite game lobbies. The speed at which he one-shots his foes leaves little room for Riot's favorite word, counterplay. Hence the Q nerf. Also, he's been more successful in top lane than in jungle. I mean, with what you're doing with fucking Rel, you don't want that for Rengar too? Like, come on. So, and that's where they're nerfing his health regen. So they're making his laning slightly worse, which is, I feel like, negligible. I don't think Rengar really relied on health regen. But the biggest thing is they're doing the critical strike damage conversion from 95 to 75. That's not bad. I definitely think it's going to touch him up a bit. I still think he's going to be quite strong with crit. He's going to still build crit because it's crit. But yeah, he's a little bit worse for wear. But still there. Just maybe not, like they said, overbearing. This is one of the few things I'll agree with their changes on. Okay. Clown Boy. Shack Clone. Pink Ward, as some might associate Shaco with. I think Shaco at this point, he's not a physical assassin. I think he works just way better and more funner as an AP, and it kind of mixes in with his kit too. When I think of Shaco, I don't think a guy who's going to backstab you. I think of a guy who's going to like do a magic trick on you. So I definitely think that his AD build's weak, and almost everyone of value and of substance builds his AP build. Not to say his AD build is like bad. I just think it's weaker when compared to the AP one. So they should and they're going to do one of two things. Lean more heavily into his AP side, which is the smart thing to do, or the stupid thing to do would be try and buff his AD to bring him into line. This is where they're trying so hard to do something that was a major issue for them for so long, and still is to this day, kind of. A lot of people, or a lot of champions that have different multiple scalings, like Kog'Maw and Kai'Sa, for example, right? They can scale off AD or AP, and they can do it pretty well. This is where they have the problem of those are balanced nightmares. Shaco's the exact opposite. They want him to be able to scale well off both, but it's never been the case because he's always been really good with AP, and if AD is strong, it's too strong. So, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do here. If they're smart, they'll lean into AP. I don't think Shaco's going to get nerfed. I'll be surprised if he does. Let's see. Full AD Assassin Shaco builds have been struggling. What a surprise. After the adjustments we made to Duskblade and IE. Yeah, because they gutted them. Well, they gutted IE. Even though they didn't change it. They made it in Mythic, which fucked it. We're looking to give back a little of his lost power with these changes. Ensuring his AD build is still relevant, which it probably won't be, but let's see how bad they want it. So, his bonus damage is going up by 10, so because it's bonus and not total, that's not as significant, but it's there. Backstab bonus is up a little bit by 15, that's not bad. You gotta remember, this is just for one auto, though. Prowler Claw will now properly be applied to the clone, which is cool. And that's it. Shaco boxes will no longer instantly die to Hextech Dragon, and Zeri's bullets will now deal the correct damage. This is next to nothing. Obviously, the biggest thing is the Q, but very small numbers here. I still think AD Shaco sucks. Shyvana. What do we think of Miss Shyvana?
I think it's sad that she did not win the ASU or the update that Skarner did, and Skarner's not coming out till next year, unfortunately. So, even if we do get her ASU eventually, it'll probably be when we're like 30 or something. So, that's that. I think she's a very cool concepted character. It's just, God, she's so old, she's so ugly, and her kit could be so much better. It's so sad. It's really a product of its time. And it's not to say that it's unfun, it's just very dated. Like, Shyvana's whole thing, and it's similar to the Shaco thing, which I just said, she can go AP or AD, but as of recent, or as far as I could tell, the best build on her was AP because it was so fucking broken, it was a nuke. It was the same thing Diana was doing, except without ulting. It's like, it would just be an AoE annoying fucking like spam nuke. Very similar to on-release Rek'Sai with AP. Excuse me. But I think they nerfed that down heavily, so I think now she's kind of in this middle ground where her AP is not as good, which was her main selling point, and her AD was kind of just lackluster to begin with. And the biggest thing they tried to add in, but they didn't go full force with, was her getting buffed based on the amount of dragons she had. But the buffs, while they are there, they are cool. I don't think they're enough. So, and Shyvana does not really feel like a dragon. She feels more like a giant fucking spaghetti monster that you kind of just run away from because she shoots globs of fire at you. Like, she doesn't seem like a person you can like brawl or like that can brawl you. It seems like a person who just like, yeah, she's a giant dragon, but she pokes you and like that's it. She's not really gonna fight you face to face like a giant dragon would, which is weird. But anyway, let's see what they're doing. Shyvana's builds have been skewing towards AP, like I said. Her AD builds haven't getting much love. She was depending on items and a few other in-game systems to keep her strong, but these are getting adjusted. A lot of her power left. And the goal with these changes is to give her more reasons to build AD. So again, they want problems. Just to be fair, when they say they want champions to have multiple build paths, what they're essentially saying is we want to make the game harder to balance. I'm not saying no one should be able to build both AP and AD, but every time it's happened where it's good, it's an issue. So just keep it an issue with certain characters. Don't create more issues, because again, they have enough of those. So anyway, let's see what they're doing. So she's getting an attack speed increase on her Q, as well as ooh, pretty good AD on her Q. It's going up by 20%, which is pretty fucking good. The AP staying the same, which is fine. And then the attack speed increase is only on her 2 autos, but that's more of a quality of life change. I don't really count that as like a good change. It's more quality of life, but it's still good. It still feels good at least. And then the cooldown is going up for some reason, which is interesting. I think it's going up because I think, from what I know, it does go down based on autos. I believe her. I think that's her W that gets extended from autos. But either way, slightly better. I'd even go a step above to say not even just slightly. I would say decently better. But let's see what they're doing to the E. So the E is now 3% of their max health, and it scales off AD. Okay, now they're starting to give me reasons where I can see building AD on her. If you want to be a pussy bitch and just poke them, you can go AP still. But if you want to actually shred them and do some damage and eat their asses, like the dragon you're supposed to be, you can go AD. And there's a little bit more of an argument now. I actually like this. I think these are good. I think these are pretty good. Very nice Shyvana changes. The Volibear. So I've actually played Volibear a little bit. This is where, again, this guy builds AP and AD hybrid builds and tank builds. Volibear builds whatever, but again, he suffers from the same problem as Shiv and them. Even though he builds it hybrid, none of his builds are that good. Like, not one build is that good. The best one is probably the AP one, but it's still not that good. I think he's just overall a weak character. I think he needs to get buffed because he's one of the best rework champions. Like, the other ones they did are good too, especially Aesol. Aesol is one of my favorites, but Volibear's up there. It's just they lowered his numbers. I think all he needs is just some damage number improvements, and he's good to go. I definitely feel like he's weak though. So let's see what they're doing. Volibear buffs. Wizard Bear is a relatively popular yet underpowered Volibear build, and I've actually been feeling it, and I actually like it. I think it's better than his physical builds. I think it makes more sense too. He's literally smacking you with fucking lightning. Why is that gonna why is that gonna scale off AD? It doesn't make sense. But then again, you can make the same argument for Zeri. But anyway, we're gonna ignore that. So, he's underperforming in the top lane, so we're giving him some simple buffs aimed at making him both scale better and be a scary carry, a very scary carry. That was so cringe. Anyway, his passive, which I think is vastly underrated in terms of the damage it will pepper onto you if you build AP, is going up in scaling. I think this is great. The 10% is very good. The Q, remove the hitch from Volibear's auto attack after stunning at high attack speeds. That's quality of life. I never encountered it, but it's cool. And then the W, Frenzied Maul. So now it's healing for even more missing health. So again, the exact thing they didn't want, because I take Volibear in a sense as very similar to Aatrox, where if they're in the fight, at least on a one-on-one, Aatrox is more AoE, similar to Vladimir, kind of. Volibear is definitely more one-on-one oriented, I would believe, where if you're fighting someone one-on-one and you keep Wing them, you have very, very good survivability, extremely good survivability. Like, I think the W is probably one of the most satisfying parts of his kits when you're brawling. Everything else is more just setup, but this is like the active ability you are going to use that will make or break the fights. And I'm not talking about like hit and runs, which is what he usually does. I'm talking about extended fights. I think W is such a nice feeling ability because it rewards you. I think this is such a good feeling ability. And the fact that it's going up higher, I think just it doesn't play into his fantasy because his fantasy is lightning, which they are buffing too. But it's playing into like the Aatrox fantasy where you're just not gonna die. You're just gonna keep brawling them and somehow healing. I feel like it's the odd thing out in his kit, but I still like it. I really like it. So these Volley buffs, mwah, I might play more Volley top, honestly. I've been feeling it. Okay. Xerath. Oh boy. Where to start with Magic Man? So Xerath himself represented a very early foretelling of what was going to happen in bot lane. Once Xerath became a better support than mid laner, and this is not to say he's a bad mid laner, I would say he's definitely better off than Karthus, who who basically became the ugly duckling and had to go jungle. I think Xerath is better because he still could go mid. It's just he's a very hard champion. And at that point, what do you do with people who are hard or people like, you want to have fun with? Bring him bot lane. So this is where I don't know what Riot's gonna do. If I had to guess, I would assume they're gonna buff him because he's already not going mid. He obviously can't go jungle. So they're gonna buff him hopefully to help him go mid. Because if they nerf him, I think they're just putting him more in the ground for support, which is the only thing he goes. So I don't see a world where they nerf him. I just don't. Even though he's good in a skilled hands player, he's really good in my hands too. I actually love playing Xerath. I think Xerath is really fun and slightly OP. But you have to work for it. You have to work for it. But let's see. Despite Xerath's success as a support, God unwilling, he's now been a unpopular and mediocre mid laner. While we don't mind Xerath's support being viable, yeah, alright. Oh my god. Like, they don't mind it being viable, they love it. They love that shit. Like, oh my god. Like, I wish I could make a meme about it. Like, oh, Riot seeing everyone else but ADCs going in the bot lane, and they look away. Riot seeing an AD slightly outperforming, and then they just instant nerf it, and they change the items. Like, it's so stupid. But anyway. We don't mind Xerath support being viable. We like to make picking Xerath mid a more consistent and realistic option. So this is where they're probably going to have trouble balancing how do they nerf his mid without buffing his support. I don't know. With these changes, we're giving him more access to mana, which is good for support, particularly in the mid lane, I don't know how, to help him trade and clear waves. This is also going to buff his support though. We also want to reward Xerath players for landing consecutive missiles while using their ultimate, so we'll be adding bonus damage and adjusting the numbers accordingly. While the base mana nerf will hit Xerath's support, which I don't think it will because he builds mana regen items as support and he still has the same passive, there's room as he currently quite strong. So unless they change it to where you have to last hit to get the passive to proc, I don't think Xerath's support's going to get nerfed, but let's see. I think that will be the biggest thing to drive him to go mid. His passive doesn't proc on autoing, it procs on last hitting, similar to Ari's. But that means he'll be even more skill dependent because a lot of people can't last hit, so double-edged sword. Yo, just fucking hire me, right? Hire me on the freaking balance team already. Anyway, the passive proc on structures will also be helpful for him no matter which role. Oh, damn, okay. So, Base stats, his mana is going down. Again, Xerath is one of the few mana dependent people. So, the cooldown is going from 12 to 16. This does hurt him a bit, not gonna lie, quite a bit. Mana Surge's cooldown is now reduced by 2 seconds upon killing Eater. So let's be straight here, right? This is where realistically, I mean, obviously this does help mid more. This helps mid. Overall, this is a net buff to mid, net nerf to support. However, I don't think it's enough of a nerf now. Will this change him to go mid? No, because you're nerfing his base mana anyway. So unless they really make R that crazy, I don't think this is gonna make him mid. It's just literally they're nerfing support. I think that's what it is. And hitting towers procs your passive. Cool. So his R. So now you're getting even more shots with this shit. That's insane. The damages are going slightly down, which is fine, because now if you keep hitting them, it's gonna do more and more damage. So this applies to any number of champions hit with the bolt. So whether you hit 1 or 5, you will only receive up to 1 stack. Okay. So I wonder, so does it have to be the same one? I think it has to be the same one. Okay. So I believe this is, even though it's additive, I don't think you lose it. So I think overall this is a pretty good buff result. I mean, just the charges alone is like that. This is where a big thing about Xerath's ult that I always wondered is his Q kind of just outperforms it, right? His Q is like a wider AoE to land, like it has more area covering it, so it's somewhat easier to land. The ult is just kind of for cleanup. It's for cleanup, or for really good Xerath players, it's for corralling people, which is something I used to do. I wouldn't use the ult to necessarily hit people, I would use it to stop them from running towards a direction so my team could catch up to them. So they would either have to choose to get pelted by my shit or try and avoid it, and then my team catches you lacking. So I think Xerath is a very, very cool character. I think these are pretty okay changes. Again, slight nerf to support, but overall I see this as a net win. I think this is good. Which is also not good because it muddies the bot lane even more, but it is what it is. Zyra. I think Zyra needs to get fucking... See, I don't know. Because this is where I'll go back to my thing with Rel. I think there shouldn't be as many champions as there are covering Zyra's niche. Zyra's niche is, hey, I'm going to poke the shit out of you. I'm the carry in this lane, not the carry. I'm going to run this lane, fuck you, right? This is where a lot of people go to bot lane and already do that in the quote-unquote support role. Zyra, Lux, Xerath, to name a few, right? These champions go down there and they don't support, they wear the pants. So this is where I think only certain champions should have that. I think there should be champions that do that, but I think there's too many at the moment. Now, Zyra, unfortunately, for better or for worse, is the champion that exemplifies this the most. So if they're going to take it away from anyone, I really hope it's not her. This is where I think Zyra does deserve to be one of the people, just based on her kit and everything. I think her kit's pretty good. I think it very well plays on the thematic. And it's sad to see if they take it away from her, the person who deserves it the most, like, and they leave all the other bullshit in. Just yet again, we're being proven that Riot doesn't know how to balance. But anyway, let's see what they're doing. Zyra remains a popular and very deep champion with her roots sunken into her devoted fan base. That's very true. So while she may not be the perfect queen of plants, we believe she's clearly a character players love as she is. That's very true. With these changes, we're looking to help polish her up and ensure that playing her is enjoyable. Let me actually lower this music. This is a tad bit loud. There's also Gwen's theme for any of you wondering out there. But anyway, so where were we? So with these changes, we're looking to help polish her up and ensure that playing her is enjoyable, which it already is, and that her gameplay doesn't feel like it's fighting against you. Interesting. These changes should make her feel more responsive and function more in line with what players would expect. See, I don't know what they say by that, because sometimes Riot does not know what we're thinking. They think they do, but they don't. We're also making her jungle mod make sense as an additional change. What do they mean by that? We don't expect that to be her primary or even secondary role, but we want to make sure it's at least a little viable for the players who are excited to play her there. We also want to retain some of her parity for ranged AoE users who are intentionally damaging down these units with auto attacks. What the fuck? Okay, this is where they're straight bullshitting us. Riot is saying, yeah, we don't want her to jungle. Yeah, we're giving her buffs to jungling, right? Which I don't know what they are yet. They could be really stupid. Like, they're essentially encouraging trolling. They're encouraging trolling and they're trying to mitigate it a bit, but it's so stupid. Like, what the fuck is this? So, they're saying, like, yeah, we don't want her to mainly go jungle. We don't even want you to really think about going jungle at all. But if you happen to, for whatever reason, it's a little bit more okay. What the fuck? Like, what kind of reasoning is that? I don't get it. But anyway, what are they doing? Plant damage from AoE spells. Okay, so you can't one-shot the plants with AoE anymore. That's good. Plant damage from ranged auto attacks. Wait, I'm so confused here. 4 to 5. Wait, so they're taking more damage from autos? I'm confused. Okay. Plant damage to monsters. So it's going from 40 to 100 bonus. Interesting. Seeds on first rank up is 1 to 2. Okay. E no longer locks Zyra out of using flash. Okay, that's quality of life. A lot of quality of life things here, I would say. And then her R. Damage application cadence, 16 times per second. Zyra will walk to the position at which her R was cast. Zyra will immediately cast R at its maximum range. Thank the Lord. I don't know why this still exists. This should literally just be a toggleable option in the options menu of, do you want your champion to walk to the cast or do you want it to be at the maximum range? I think 9 times out of 10, you will always choose maximum range than walking in to cast it. Like, this is such a stupid, old, outdated thing. I don't even know why it's still in the fucking game. I honestly don't. But I really don't understand what they're doing with her plants. I don't understand what this means. Plant damage from AoE spells is going down. Plant damage from ranged autos is going. I don't understand what this is, honestly. But whatever it is, I think Zyra is slightly better, but I count this more of just quality of life. I don't think this is a buff. And it literally says like several quality of life things. I don't understand the passive thing though. I think that's one of the things that I almost never have seen Riot do, but they did not clarify this enough to where I understand this. Like, I honestly don't. This is one of the few times they've done that. Riot's usually pretty good on clarity. I mean, hell, they make such a big deal out of it too, right? So anyway, on to the items. Axiomark. This item somehow still exists even though it was broken. Everyone built it. It was nerfed. No one built it. So let's see if we're going to swing back around. We're modifying Axiomark into an exciting, yeah, alright, lethality capstone that can help assassins push games to a close with almost solo carry levels of potential. We believe the idea of getting off 2 ultimates in a fight should be an exciting game-closing dream. That's insane. We do realize this sounds terrifying for ADC players. Yeah, but they don't care about them, so it doesn't matter. So we're testing this out to see if it's acceptable. So they're basically gonna let like animals roam free on us and beat the shit out of us and eat us alive, and then when we're half dead, they're gonna maybe reel them back. Maybe. Okay. The start of this was a good time to test it, but we'll be keeping a very close eye on these changes. So instead of getting 20% off total cooldown, you're getting 5 plus 40% of your lethality. This will be a buff at mythic item plus Axiomark, scaling up to around 40% at full build. So you're getting double your... So if you kill 2 people, you essentially almost have your ultimate back. If you kill 3, you just get it back instantly. That's insane. That's pretty crazy. They essentially halved what the item was capable of before, and halved, I mean, is in they half the time it takes. So before you would need to kill about 4 people to be close to your ult, now you need to kill 2 people to be about close to your ult. This is insane. I mean, I don't know, I forgot the base stats on this time, but this is a pretty fucking good change, not gonna lie. Gale Force. I don't like how this item is better than IE, and people are building it more. I understand why. It's because the AD class mostly is immobile, but it seems like Riot just hates crit damage, honestly. Honestly, I don't understand. Like, I'm gonna keep going back to this. I don't understand the reasoning of why they changed IE to be a mythic. I just don't fucking understand. I don't fucking get it. I think it's stupid. I think it's dumb. I think it's fucking ridiculous. I think that if they're gonna nerf all these other items, eventually IE is gonna be used probably. But even then, like, some of the people who I think should have hard used IE, similar to like Ash and Jin, they don't use them. Jin is the guy who blows you up, and he's doing less damage now because he can't build IE because he just synergizes so well with Gale Force. It's so dumb. Like, it's so fucking stupid. But anyway, let's see what's happening. So, Gale Force launched far too strong in mid-season and has become balanced in the hands of the majority of players. Interesting. But considering it's an active item, it's even stronger at the highest levels of play, where AD, oh god, AD carries are a little overpowered. These people do not play their own game. I feel like this is such a load of barnacles. Like, this is such horseshit. This is a lie. I feel like ADCs are, I mean, they're not necessarily weak, it's just they're not in meta because of the whole support bullshit that's happening. This is where this is so fucking dumb. Like, I do not agree with this almost at all. I think this is so stupid. But anyway, we think lowering the impact of the active will bridge the gap a little. Infinity Edge is also receiving a small buff this patch. Oh, let's go! So champions like Caitlyn and Jinx can simply side grade over to another mythic, while those who are more hardbound like Neela are already performing very well and can safely lose a bit of power. Interesting. So the cooldown is going from 90 to 120. I remember back in the day, this shit used to be 60 seconds. It used to be 60. Just think about that. Now it's a mythic, and it's worse than its legendary counterpart. Like, it feels so fucking bad. It's so stupid. But anyway, let's see what they're doing to IE. I don't mind necessarily this getting nerfed, because again, it does open up IE to get played more, and IE is getting buffed, so this could overall be a good thing. I'm just sad to see this item nerfed when I don't think it's that good. It's just, again, the active, I don't even think the damage is that good. It's just the active and being able to, the damage is alright, let me not say that. The damage is not negligible. It definitely is there, and it's an execute. But it's just the active of being able to, like, do a dash. It's so stupid. Oh my god. Like, I don't mind this being a mythic. Just make IE not a mythic. It's so stupid. So, let's see what they say about IE, because this is my biggest point of contention. Everything else they changed with the marksman items is whatever to me. It's just this one is like the stupid one. Infinity Edge has been a reasonable marksman capstone since mid-season. Like, oh my god, just to go back to this, it doesn't make sense where you can build it first. Like, them having it before where you have to build it second or third once you have crit, like, already to activate it was fine because you were a scaling champion. Crit scales. The fact that you could build it first means, yeah, sure, you get online a little earlier, but you're still not doing crazy amounts of damage. You are doing more than anything else, but not by much because you haven't gotten that much damage under your belt. So getting this first as a mythic is stupid anyway. Like, oh my god, it doesn't make any sense. I think it's so dumb. But anyway, I don't have statistics to prove me, so let's see. If Edge has been a reasonable marksman capstone since mid-season, bullshit. But isn't quite hitting the excitement bar that we want it to. Yeah, because it's just a fucking stat check item. IE should be the clear late game auto attack DPS winner, which it's not. And while it's close, no it's not, many players aren't getting the enjoyment they want out of this historic item, because they're not building it. In truth, the changes here are pretty small. It's roughly power neutral as a second item, and then trends towards 3 to 4% more auto attack DPS in full builds. The important thing is having auto attack crits stand out. So what are they doing here? They're nerfing the damage, but they're increasing the crit damage from 35 to 45. This is interesting. So you're losing 5 AD, but you're getting it way harder if you're autoing, or sorry, if you're critting. This is interesting. This is interesting. I'm not gonna lie, I think this pushes it. I think if you have to have IE, you need to make it be the de facto damage item. With the other items should be, like obviously Nafiri is its own thing, and so is Jinso's. So the main competing things, right, are IE versus Gale Force. Gale Force should just be there for utility. You should know if you build Gale Force, you are not gonna be hard hitting. With IE, you should be spanking people with a fucking paddle on their ass. And it looks like it's leading towards that. I don't know if this is enough, because again, they like to put these stats of 3 to 4% better. But I don't know. This is interesting though. I like this. I like this. I mean, I build IE anyway. It's sad too because again, before we used to have them both, and they took that away from us, so it feels shittier to me historically to play ADC now. But anyway, let's move on. I think that's a decent change. Let's see how it sits. I think we need more, but step in the right direction. Prowler's Claw. Prowler's Claw is a bit weak compared to what they want it to be, and they're bringing its lethality up, which is inadvertently going to buff Axiom Arc. So that's cool. Pretty cool. I mean, it's 3, but again, it's something. Very small change though. Randuin's. I feel like this item is almost never built. I feel like it's forgotten about. I think it's pretty okay, but it's pretty niche for crit users, and who are the crit users? The ADs, and ADs don't matter. When ADs matter, Randuin is built. When they don't matter, it's not built. And that's not a hard rule, but that's a loose interpretation I've seen. But anyway, Randuin's Omen has been an unpopular item. Yeah, almost forever, as most players are opting for Thornmail or Sunfires. Since Randuin's already offers a reasonable amount of stats, we're sharpening what it uniquely offers. So I think this is a good change. They have to not, buff its stats. They have to buff its niche. Because again, the biggest thing that sucks about tank is the more tank you build, the less use you're getting out of it, aside from the actives or passives you're getting, right? And there's not much active, so it's mostly from the passives. The more tank items you build, the less you care about the actual stats. I actually feel bad eventually when I'm playing tank by building more armor, because it only provides only a sliver more of protections, like a sliver more of like how much less damage I'm gonna take. But the main thing is the passive of the item, the actual like niche of the item. This is where I think them improving the niche of Randuin's is good. But let's see how much they're doing it by. Crit strike damage reduction 20 to 25. I think this is good because not only does this make sense because the crit damage of IE is going up, but again, they're going for the niche. I think this is overall good. Now, is it good for ADs? Yes and no. I honestly think that tanks sort of need this. I've played tanks, right? I don't really play AD too much anymore because I hate the bot lane, but I've played tanks here and there. Tanks don't feel like tanks sometimes. Like, even when you're not going against Vayne or Kog'Maw, sometimes you still get shredded like shit, and I'm like, what the fuck? Now, granted, it's not from crit, which is a different issue, but I feel like a lot of tanks are not that tanky anymore. Even the big boy tanks like Ornn and Sion and stuff. Like, I feel like they just die really fucking easily. Or easier than they ever did, which is weird. But this is a good step in the right direction, similar to Infinity Edge. Let's keep going. The Spear of Shojin. So obviously they said they're buffing it. Let's see what they're doing. This should be an exciting capstone level item for fighters, but has very few purchasers. I think off the top of my head, the people I can see buying this is Jax and Jax. Maybe Fiora, but probably just Jax. Anyone else who I think would build this? Not really, honestly. Jax is like the main guy. Anyway, this item does fulfill a very specific niche, but there are other champions that could potentially do well with it, but are intimidated by its high price. We'll be reducing its gold and increasing its HP, offering to make this item more of a realistic option for users that aren't as well established like Jax. Oh yeah, Hecarim too. I forgot Hecarim could use this. Okay. So they're shaving 100 gold and they're adding 50 health. Okay, slightly better. Pretty cool. I think it's really only going to be used by the same people, though, because those people abuse it. Like, people with low cooldown abilities, like, I don't think Gwen is ever going to build this thing. One, because she's AP. But two, because her cooldowns are low already. They're not too low, but I don't know. Like, on the champions, it's good on. It's so fucking good. This is a weird item. Spirit. When I think Spirit, I think Spirit is actually a really good spot. I think it's your go-to thing for MR. They kind of changed that a little bit for it to be the other MR item, which I forgot what it is honestly, but I think no matter what, if you buy Spirit, you're not doing terrible for yourself. Obviously, if you have healing, it's way better. Like, this item was necessarily made for Nasus, but it kind of was. But I think overall, this is a pretty solid MR item. Obviously, there's a better one, which is Force of Nature. I think Force of Nature is your hard MR item. If you want to shut down MR, you build Force of Nature. If you want to like shut down MR but also like have a little bit more fun, you build Spirit. So let's see what they're doing. Spirit like Rendudes has been a mediocre MR option. I don't believe that. While it has a unique passive that's well utilized by certain champions, that's true. We like to increase the amount of base stats it offers, so 50 to 60. That's pretty good. I think that's fine. Nothing crazy. Alright, Static. What do I think of Static? I think Static came out, it's worse than the old one. It's now a wave clear item, and even worse, it's an AP item, if that, which is fucking stupid. Like, you had mid laners building this shit. It's so fucking bad. But they quickly got away with whatever everyone was abusing on it, at least with the minions. I feel like overall this is not the same item we wanted. It's not the same item that we got, and it's sort of a ghost of its former self. I feel like Riot is trying to play on our nostalgia with the item, and I hate that, and I'm not building this stupid shit. I'm not falling for the stupid trick of, oh, look, it's static, but you build AP and it doesn't crit, and you have to be AP to really use it well. Like, what the fuck is this? When the fuck did we live in a world where static Shiv scales off AP, and it's better on mid laners than it is on ADCs? Terrible. Sacre bleu. I spit on Riot Games. I spit on them. But yeah, no, I don't like what they did with Static. I think Static should just be like going back to what it used to do, which is it can crit. If you make Static able to crit, then like perfect. Like that's all we need. I don't know why they just don't do that. Maybe it wasn't healthy for the game. Who fucking knows? I think ADC is not that strong, so they need it. But again, who knows? It also looks like Zeus's Thunderbolt, which is pretty funny. But anyway, Static Shiv's minion damage has been tuned to nearly kill caster minions, but not quite. Again, I don't think ADCs needed wave clear. If you wanted that, go Sivir, but if not, that's not your main job anyway. So again, I don't know who this item is for. It's stupid. But anyway, unless you're at the cutting edge of experience gain. Interesting. And this is where like another thing that doesn't make sense to me is this is where the old Static physically, when it procced, looked cooler than this one. This one is like a little peepee electricity shock. The old Static was like a nuke of electricity. Like the old Static is just so much better. It sucks so bad. The sound was better. The visual was better. The actual gameplay part of it was better. It was just so good. It's sad that we got this fucking wet fart of an item that's not static, but it thinks it is. It's so stupid. But anyway, unfortunately, the very specific goal has meant it's easy to eclipse that mark with Minion Dematerializer. Oh, yeah. See, at that point, I feel like it's fair, though, because at that point, you're wasting a rune, or a rune slot, to make this item better. I think that's honestly fair. Additionally, the item can stall games with its late game minion damage requiring Baron buff to push through. Nah, I don't really feel like that's true, but okay. Outside of those worries, the item is pretty well balanced. I don't think so at all. So with the nerf to its wave clear comes a compensation buff. So it's becoming more of a stat stick for ADs, less of an actual item based on its niche, from what I'm hearing. So you're getting more attack speed, which is good for general purposes, but the main thing you buy it for, which is its electro-ejaculating damage, is going down a lot. But it's weird the way they laid it out here. They don't tell you the big difference. I don't know how much lesser it is, but I think it's just worse overall. Actually, wait a minute. This doesn't make any sense. Oh, no, okay, so yeah, so it's nerfed mid to late game. Okay, no, I get it. It's nerfed mid to late game now. It's a little weird. Yeah, okay, this is fine. Man, fuck, I don't even know why I'm spending time on this stupid item. This item sucks. Sterix. What do I think of Sterix? It's pretty much for people who buy Sheen items. That's what I think. Or people who just want a fat, meaty shield and want damage and there's no more quote-unquote tank damage items to buy like Black Cleaver. You get this just to increase it a tiny bit more. It synergizes well with Sheen items, but you don't need Sheen items to get use out of it. I think it's pretty good. So, with the goal to increase fighter agency, we'll be giving Sterix a nice HP buff while bringing down the price. Interesting. So this is for 5v5 team fighting, and you want burst resistance, which should come from your tank, but whatever. So they're shaving 100 gold, they're adding 50 health. That's alright. Trinity Force. So what are they doing to Trinity? I think Trinity, it has to either A, have something wrong with it, or B, there's something wrong with the champions going on. I don't personally know. And this is where I'm going to say it's probably something wrong with the item. Because if Ash is building this, I can understand Kindred to an extent. Not really, but kind of. I can't understand Ash doing this. So something has to be going on here. That doesn't make sense. So, Trinity got massive buffs in mid-season and found a home for certain fighters. Several marksmen have found Trinity Force build of stats to make a lot of sense as well, which doesn't make sense, which shows they ruined crit. After all, anyone with short cooldowns and easy ways to auto attack is going to use Spellblade. Yeah, but there's already an item for that which is called Essence Reaver. Unless this item is just a stat stick, which it probably is because it's Triforce. So anyway, ramping AD percentage from threefold strike also rewarded longer duration auto attack patterns. We're pretty happy with the suite of users and think they all make sense. That's stupid. With that said, we want to make sure that bouncing down for marksmen still allows fighters to deal a ton of damage. Oh boy. The changes to Triforce are pretty light, all things considered, but shift its strengths towards fighters who can't maintain target access for as long. It is a net buff, only falling off for champions who get to attack even more. Read marksman. Also, the number 3 is far more prevalent now. I'm so confused. What? So it's better if you do quicker hits, but worse if you do long time? I don't get it. So the attack speed is down. The attack damage per stack is 3. Wait, what? I'm so confused. Maximum threefold strike stacks is going from 5 to 3. So it's going from 2018. I don't understand how this is a buff to fighters. I really don't. Maybe initially? This is weird. What the fuck? This is so weird. But yeah, I think overall just Trinity's slightly worse. I don't know how this is not touching fighters, but whatever. Summoner spells. Holy Jesus, they're actually changing Ghost. I think the biggest change to Ghost they gave it was the ability for it to extend when you got a takedown. I think aside from that, Ghost is pretty whatever. I mean, this is what I take of Ghost, right? If you see a Darius taking Ghost, or a Jax taking Ghost, or a Fiora taking Ghost, if you see any hard carry top laner taking Ghost, one of two things has happened, or Singe. One of two things has happened. You're against someone who knows what the fuck they're doing, or you're against someone who's gonna fucking int their fucking ass off. One of the two. So I think in that sense, I actually like seeing this because it's a feast or famine thing. Not for what it does, but for the players it represents. But overall, I feel like Ghost is... See, this is where I think movement speed, and not everyone thinks this way, but most people don't value it. Most people don't respect it. Movement speed is very strong. It's very, very strong. It's basically a win more summoner spell, where if you're winning, you basically fuck them harder with this. This is better than Flash. It's a lower cooldown than Flash. Obviously, Flash can get you to escape things, but so can Ghost. And it lasts longer, and I think it obviously, if you get the resets, it provides you just way more than Flash does, unless it's niche situations where you're just trying to straight up go over a wall. I think this is better for overall fighting. I think it's a nice rune. I would personally love to see it get buffed, so a lot more people could respect it. But I think it's honestly fine where it's at. I don't think it should get nerfed though, because then it's gonna be trash. But let's see. Ghost is catching on as an incredibly strong summoner spell, which is what I'm saying, and is rapidly becoming the go-to pick for bot laners. That's interesting. We're happy that players have identified another strong tool to use, but Ghost is just a bit overtuned right now. Huh? It appears to be slightly stronger in bottom lane than in top. I don't know how. Top and jungle and mid, but tends to outcompete alternatives in all of these roles. Again, another way bot lane has been fucked. We're nerfing Ghost's best case scenarios because it contributes to the winning team snowballing even harder, which is what I said, it's a win more rune, or sorry, summoner spell, which we'd like to walk back a bit. The duration extension disproportionately benefits ranged champions, I don't know how, who tend to live longer in fights. Oh, well, I guess so, yeah. And tech to make use of the extension. See, this is where I would argue it's just as impactful, if not more, for the top lane fighters I mentioned before. Because those are fighters that want to stick on you, and oftentimes, if they miss their engage, like Darius misses his grab, he can't do anything. With Ghost, that eliminates that problem. Ghost, when you are faster than your enemy, unless they have a movement ability, which I know everyone mostly does, but in case it's on cooldown or they don't, you can very easily keep up with them where the grab is invalidated. I mean, honestly, the grab is just the icing on the cake, where, again, I think Ghost, as much as it helps ranged, it also helps melees too, honestly. And you can make even a little argument here saying that ranged is it helps them, but they kind of need the help because they're immobile anyway. Some bot or some top laners, Fiora, have like fucking like dashes every 3 seconds. Where if they have Ghost and that dash, you're not getting away from them. So I think again, this is a little unjust what they're saying. I think it helps top laners as much, if not maybe a little bit more, as it does bot laners. But whatever, they hate ADs. That's all it is. They hate ADCs. So let's see. Okay, so what are they doing? We tend to live longer, while the compensation buff to the base duration should keep it in a similar power level for melees. So let's see. Ghost no longer extends its duration by 4 to 7 seconds, but now you're just getting 5 extra seconds. I would say overall, this is a huge fucking nerf, because again, in the situations where you're getting the extension, one extension alone already outdoes this compensation buff, quote unquote. So if you get one kill, it's already better than this current Ghost. After, you know, a little bit of the game has passed, because the 4 seconds isn't, but 5 and beyond is. So most of the time, this is, I mean, not most of the time, all the time, this is just a straight nerf now. Excuse me, or no, most of the time it is. I don't know, this is stupid. I don't think they should have done this. This is so dumb. They just don't want ADs to be good. I feel like whoever is at Riot really just doesn't like the AD role. Oh my fucking god, there's more reading. I knew this was gonna be long. I didn't think it was gonna be 2 hours, but god, I knew it was gonna be long. Fuck. And I started so late, it's already past 1 a.m. I still haven't eaten dinner, man. What the fuck? And I was told I have bags under my eyes too because I'm not getting sleep. This sucks. But anyway, no sleep for me. This patch, we're taking a swing at early jungle gank power. It's important that junglers exist and are threatening so that laners have to keep an eye out for uninvited guests. It's also a way to shake up the lane. If a lane is just, you know, dumpstering you, there's almost no way you could come back except with jungle intervention. Now again, realistically, the jungler just makes it worse. They feed them a kill. But in theory, it's a way to shake things up, which I like. It's a gateway out. The balance has swung too hard in the favor of junglers. Not only do junglers have the advantage of Fog of War and innate numbers advantage, I mean, yeah, that's how it works. Their first gank also frequently comes with double buffs. Well, yeah, but if the enemy like can kill you, they're way better. And some of the jungle clears are not that healthy, so I don't know if I fully agree with this yet. But anyway, and even extra ability casts all contribute to jungle ganks being more successful. Now, the only thing I don't like about this is how early they can gank. I don't think they should gank as early, which is what they're saying. I don't mind it being powerful when they do gank. I just don't want it to be so soon. I feel like they're going to do the thing of they're going to shave off the power, but I don't know how. When realistically, they should be shaving off the time. But that's just me. So what are they doing? Um, See, again, this is where I think short form content has like muddied our minds. I think because short form content exists, players don't want to sit in the jungle and kill like a jungle camp for 30 seconds. I think they want to keep the jungle camps low health so people could like do different things quickly. So you're not stuck doing the same thing like for too long because people don't like that. But I think that's the best way to solve this issue. Just give the jungle camps more health and make them slightly weaker in damage to extend jungle clearing and how long it takes, and I think that would help. But that's again, that's just my opinion. But anyway, because ganks are decided like, or ganks happen way too early when like laners are vulnerable, and I don't know. I feel like it's just stupid that how early it can happen. Anyway, because it also messes with the game flow too. When you just start lane, you don't want to play safe immediately. You want to have some time to kind of like settle in. It feels so shitty when you just hit level 2. You're like, oh, I can make a play, I can make a play, and then the jungler comes and ganks you and you die. It's so stupid. Or level 3 rather, level 2 or 3, depending on which lane you're in. Anyway, what are they doing? Okay, so they're being more successful than like in the early game. They're all being tapped down. The late game compensation is there to make it a bit more valuable, and only red buff really matters in the late game right now. That's true. Blue does not matter. Some extra context for top laners. We don't have great immediate solutions for directly changing top lane to make the experience better, which means they don't know what the fuck they're doing, but it's something they want to work on, so they're trying to figure it out. Nudging down early game gank success, as many junglers place that first gank top lane. That's not true. This is where I think they're straight up capping. This is where it's infinitely more beneficial to gank bot lane because you have so much more to gain out of it. Now, obviously, it depends on your pathing, where you start, and how pushed people are. But I would say more times than not, junglers focus on bot lane because there's more benefit there. It's always a bot lane centered game, except not in favor of the AD. Everything's just against them, which is why mid laners always roam down there too. But anyway, let's see. So this is one of the many small steps we will take to try and improve the experience of playing top. So they recognize that playing top is shit. I wish they would recognize that about AD, but whatever. So red buff. Now they are nerfing it. Okay, but slightly. The melee slow is going more incremental. Cool. The range slow is unchanged. This does nothing. Okay, and then the ability haste of blue goes up. That's pretty cool. How the fuck does this change early ganking power? Is it because it stays at 10 from 1 to 5, it doesn't scale, like, sooner? If that's the case, that's ass. If they think that's gonna curve early jungle power, I think these people are like on drugs or something. It has to literally do, and I'm telling you, I think it has to do with how soon they gank. I don't know if I'm stupid, I don't know if I'm different, but I really believe it's how soon they gank. Because they have power just by being a champion. When it's 1 versus 2, no matter what, you're gonna be in more power. Unless the jungler's an idiot and goes in at 1 hit. But like aside from that, the problem isn't how, I mean, you could say how often it's happening, but that also gets fixed by doing it later, because that's overall less time for it to be done. I don't know, it's so stupid. But anyway, very small weedy changes. ARAM. I'm actually going to look at these a little bit. For this patch, we're mainly looking to buff nerf clear and overperforming and underperformers. We want to reduce modifiers on a few champions because ARAM is supposed to be fun, not overly monitored. We have room for modifier reductions. We're giving Ashe more damage, and we're trying some alternative levers for Vi and Quinn. Okay, so, yeah, never mind. I don't want to read this shit. Fuck that. Anyway, themed clash. There's a Void Clash Cup that's happening, and I don't care about it unless it's the one for ARAM, but I doubt it is because who knows when that's coming out. Heck, for all I know, it could have come out already and I could have missed it. Who the fuck knows? But let's see. Let's hope. So, wait. I hear you get Baron on your team if you can assemble 9 Void Champs. Oh, I mean, I think that's a TFT joke, but whatever. The registration begins here. Here we have quite a few changes. Clash tournament cancel has been reduced from twice to once per month. I think that's sad. I don't think that's a good change, but whatever. Clash capsule and orb will be distributed based on total wins, not on placement. I think that's cool. Players will receive double the VP every time they win. Okay, we decided to host at least 1 non-Summoners Rift Clash tournament per year. Oh, wow! 1 per year! Not 1 per 6 months, not 1 per whatever. 1 per year. And I like how they've said, this is how my job talks, by the way. Like, oh, we've decided to do this. We've decided to give you this. No, bitch, you have to do what we want, not what you decide to do. You have to do what we ask. I'm almost positive more people want ARAM clashes. I hope I'm positive, maybe not so positive, but I'm pretty confident in that because I want it. And if I want it, that means other people have to want it. So this is where I would love to see more ARAM clashes, more than just 1 a fucking year. It's so stupid. It's so easy to do too. I don't know why they don't do it. Those are ones I would actually play though. Not Rift. I hate Rift. But anyway, let's see. So the class schedule is now live, and I don't really care about the rest. Cool. Mythic shop rotation is changing. I don't care. Arena augment data policy. Okay, so how long is this going to be? So again, with Arena, they have augments which are basically roguelike elements that change your gameplay with either ultimates or wacky, crazy things that happen. So, with the launch of Arena, we'd like to ensure partners are aware of our developer API policy regarding the augment system. Third-party sites will not be allowed to share the following: augment win rates. See, this is where I think Riot maybe heard the complaints about people optimizing the game too hard, and this is where I think it's smart for them to do this. I think there should be a level of fan theory crafting, but I don't think it should go into the realm of like we literally have the core stats to see which one's winning the most. Because I think that definitely does suck a little bit of the fun out of it. I think it's fine if you figure out what it is on your own and you share it, because you could be wrong stat-wise, right? And it could be the effect of bias, where now a lot of people pick it and it has the best win rate, even though it might not be the actual best. People think it is, so they keep using it. I think that's way more fun and adds a lot more variety and depth to things than just, oh, this is the best one statistically, like, let's do it, and it becomes mathematical and it becomes fucking boring. So, and it takes out a lot of the legwork and community like driven stuff. But anyway, I agree with that. I think this is good. Third-party sites will now be allowed to show augment win rates, average game placement with selected augments, and augment numbers based on data with the exception of popularity and pick rate. I think that's a slippery slope. I just don't want them to show anything with the augments, but whatever. So let's see what their philosophy is. I'm actually very curious to read this. We'd like to dive a bit into the philosophy behind this approach with Arena. Arena is meant to be a game mode that encourages players to experiment and try new things. I fully agree with that in the beginning. We believe it will be at its strongest when through that experimentation we can see significant meta shifts as the mode progresses. I agree, but eventually there will be settled into a meta. Unless they keep changing the game, unless they add or change the augments, I think this is inevitable. I guess they just want it to take longer, which is still fine. But I definitely think if this game was popular enough, they should rotate augments out and kind of do like a TFT thing where they have seasons where even at that point, they can change the augments and they could change the map, they could change the champions that show up, what they do. They could change almost everything here and it makes sense and be good. But who knows if they're going to do that. I think they should if it's popular enough, but time will tell. Anyway, we want to avoid a scenario where data points to a currently optimal choice since the sheer number of potential combinations, items, and augments is meant to force players to think on their feet as opposed to following a script. I fully agree with that. We know this is very different from how League has approached sharing data in the past, particularly Summoner's Rift. Our goal for Arena is to be a place where theory crafting and for players to theory craft and adjust the meta more naturally instead of focusing on raw win rate data. I fully agree. Raw win rate data can be misleading and can cause a stagnant meta in an unhealthy way that will make the game less enjoyable. Likely make the game less enjoyable. Yes, we will still be sharing a healthy amount of data to allow players to inform themselves, but that's about it. We're excited to see what combinations players come up with, and we'll be keeping a close eye on how the meta develops. See, this is where that says to me they might be changing the augments, and I really hope they do. We'll be actively exploring options on how to further improve in-game information, and this, and that. Okay, cool. So bug fixes. I'm not reading. These are stupid. Actually, wait. Let me read the quality of life ones. Holding the mute button will now mute all communications, which it should have done already. I thought it did. Custom game lobbies will now only display a player's highest Summoner's Rift rank instead of including TFT. That's weird. Ranked related challenges have been adjusted to match the new split. Okay, cool. A lot of bugs as always, a lot of skin bugs, and then finally to the skins. So, this is where I could get to the final part. Hopefully it's not going to take too long because we're about to push 2 hours here, which is lovely. But this is where I would say for a lot of the Soul Fighter event, I would say they picked really good skins. I mean, obviously these people have a lot of skins anyway, and now they're starting to cycle in a lot of, or not a lot of, but some of the Wild Rift skins as well. So Star Guardian Senna was on Wild Rift, and now it's coming to Summoner's Rift. And this is more of a broader topic, but I think in Wild Rift, things just look better because they were built from the ground up. I think they should do that to League, you know, League being the originator and everything, but they don't. Billion-dollar company. But whatever, I don't know if the skin's going to look better or worse. I personally think it's going to look worse because, again, everything from the ground up was made for the phone, and it's newer. But hey, at least we're getting the skin, so that's good. Even if it is on a delay, I think that's fine. And then we have the Soul Fighters themselves. So it's important to note, because this is only, or because this is a long event, this is going to be a long event. There's going to be 2 parts to this. This is the first part of the event. These are not all the skins. The other skins are coming, so I guess I'll save my big complaint with this event, and not really with the event, but with one of the skins, for the next patch notes video when it comes out. But overall, I think these skins are amazing. Again, like I said in the beginning, they're not China themed, which for me is a plus because I think we get too many of those. And then they're pretty unique, and I like the Soul Fighter theme. I think it's cool. I think these skins are pretty good. We're not going to look at them because, again, we're already going over time. And we have Prestige Soul Fighter Pike. I don't know where regular... Oh, wait, no, I didn't go up here. Oh, no, it is here. I'm stupid. But I'm still right. So, there's more skins coming down the line, but the big skin that is the big controversy is Soul Fighter Samira. So, aside from that, Star Guardian Senna could be worse than Wild Rift, but still good that we're getting it. Soul Fighter Pike, that's cool. Oh, and the regular Pike's right next to him. Again, I'm sleep deprived, but I love the colors of this shit. This shit's so cool. But yeah, no, pretty cool. Soul Fighter Nafiri looks fucking crazy. She looks like a fucking, like... I don't know the exact niche it fits, but it's definitely like rocker punk. She looks like a punk dog. Like a punk rocker styled, like, hound. Which is cool. Soul Fighter Lux, pretty cool. Another Lux skin, whoopee. Soul Fighter Set, I feel like this is going to be a pretty good skin too. And ironically enough, I'll say a little spoiler here. I've seen a little bit of the Soul Fighter Viego skin. Dance that it has is literally the JoJo dance. I'll bring it up in the next patch, but that's insane. And I believe it's a 1350, which is fucking wild. If it's not, I'll be surprised. But most of these skins are 1350s except Samira. And this is where we get into a big controversy. And this is where it goes beyond just them hating ADs. It's ironic it happened to an AD. It kind of fits the narrative I'm building, but it's also indicative of just the overall quality at Riot going down. It's either the quality going down, technical limitations, which I think are kind of bullshit, or the people are just not that good anymore. They're getting lazy, they ran out of ideas, or they're not that talented. This is where back in the day, legendaries were cool, they had a gimmick. Nowadays, they don't. They have a lot less. They have different gimmicks, like pentakill, map changes and stuff, and little overlays, which I would argue, comparatively to me, kind of suck to the old legendaries. The old legendaries would transform the model if you ulted or something. Now they kind of are just shittier gimmicks, but the gimmicks are still there, although changed. Now, I'll just compare the gimmicks for a little bit more. So, imagine the Diana one, right? The Diana one, for her legendary, the winter one, is a pentakill one. Now, it's not impossible to get a pentakill on Diana, but it's also not going to happen too often. Now, this is where, imagine instead of the pentakill stupid map change bullshit gimmick, they had when you ult, you change models, right? Until you backed or until you died, which is similar to Leona. At that point, you would get value out of that. You would see that, you would, have it being used way more often than the pentakill one. The pentakill one is going to happen every so often, if at all, if you're good, right? So this is where, just by the nature of how often does it happen and how much time are they spending on it, this is where in Call of Duty Zombies this was a big issue. The developers spent so much time and effort on the Easter eggs, but less than 2% of the people who played zombies did the Easter eggs. So why spend so much time on something that such a little percentage of the population is going to experience, whereas if you have them changing forms when they ult or when they do something, it's way better. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. And this is where I've been talking about legendaries. The biggest piece of information that is wild is this skin, Soul Fighter Samira, is the next ultimate skin in League of Legends. Now again, I've made a whole video about this. I don't want to go too in depth on this, but this is where it baffles me that the level of quality of an ultimate has fallen so low to this. Soul Fighter Samira shares animations with her base model and the base skins, or the alternate skins that use the base animations. This skin is an ultimate being charged at ultimate price, and they said, oh, we envisioned it as a legendary, but we kept adding so many little gimmicks that are stupid that we needed to make it an ultimate. No, you fucking didn't. This is not an ultimate tiered skin, and the biggest thing that everyone agrees on is it's a legendary. It's a good legendary too. And they were saying something about adding a tier in between legendary and ultimate, like a legendary plus tier. Obviously, name pending. But that's where I think the skin would have fit. But this is not an ultimate skin. An ultimate skin, Riot defines as like completely redoing the champion, new theme, new everything. New everything. Not reused animations, new everything. This shit has reused animations, which even for a legendary, I would say is unacceptable, and that's already been happening. Now it's happening for a fucking ultimate skin. Now, granted, they did add some more bells and whistles than your standard legendary, but not by much to where it would still be considered a really good legendary, not an ultimate. This is where I think they have no clue what they're doing with the ultimates, and they're just honestly getting lazy. And even with the voice, it's the same voice actress with for Samira, which is fine. You know, I have no problem with that if it was a legendary. This is an ultimate. You should get at least a new voice actor because this feels just like Samira in like a new costume, not a completely new take on the champion. It's so fucking stupid. It's so dumb. Excuse me. And the skin is pretty good for a legendary, not for an ultimate. The best thing to do, and it's sad because people have complained about it, right? Riot's not going to change it, at least from what we see so far. We're fighting a losing battle. And the best way to do this is to boycott this shit. I don't think people will. I don't think even enough people care to boycott or even know like the skin is not ultimate quality. I think they're just going to see, oh, ultimate skin, and there's enough casual people that will buy where it doesn't matter. But it's just sad to see that this is the path Riot is going down. It's becoming, I don't know if it's more corporate, but it's just becoming more greedy and more lazy. It's so fucking stupid. But yeah, that's my little rant about the Soulfire Samir skin. It's a great skin, and it has bells and whistles. Don't get me wrong. But it's a great legendary, not an ultimate. The pure fact that, to me, it uses the same animations is egregious, and the fact that it has the same voice actress is a little iffy. Like, it should be a different fucking voice. It's so stupid. And, oh my god, once I saw the skin spotlight was 3.5 minutes long for this shit, I was like, no way. I believe the that was the pre-release. The main one is 9 minutes. Let me actually make sure of that right now, though, so I have my information right. Soul Fighter Samira. Let's see how long this is. So the actual skin spotlight is about 7 minutes. For an ultimate, I can't believe this. Like, I actually can't believe this. So let me see what the difference is. So they have the splash, the turnaround, the emotes, the recall. So they added minion kill VFX. And then there's basic attack. So they added like new, you know, text for her auto numbers and everything. Like, they added so many small things, but it's like, bruh, what is this? Let me see the minion kill VFX. Yeah, these are stupid. Like, what the fuck? I mean, it's similar to like Ezreal. It's similar to Pulsefire Ezreal, but like, come on, bruh. I don't know. Rainbow HUD VFX when enough damage is dealt using ult. See, that's cool and all, but it's so stupid. I don't know. This is not an ultimate. This is so stupid. Ugh. And you know what the best part of this is? The first comment on the Skin Spotlight video is, thank you Skin Spotlights for actually showing the skins, since Riot doesn't really do it. With this we can actually know if it's a scam. If her model evolved with the kills and her taunt, then this could have been an incredible ultimate. You can't change my mind, Riot. That's a legendary skin at best. Definitely one of the best legendaries of all time. Oh my god. It's so dumb. It's so fucking dumb. But anyway, yeah, that's the whole controversy with that. But with that, that marks the close of these patch notes. About 2 hours. Lovely. Double what I thought it would take. But it makes sense because this has been a long time coming because we had the extended break and it's the biggest event of the year. And of course, it had to happen on the day I didn't have much time. But anyway, that's the patch notes. Overall, there was a lot of shit in here. With everything that's new, with Nafiri, with the changes, some of the changes were but I have to take everything involved in this patch, not just the balance. Mostly the balance, but not just the balance. This is where I want to give it a decent 7. This 7 is tentative. This might change in the next patch too, because I'm counting the next patch as like the part 2 to this event, to where we got to see how the game mode sits and everything. But I think overall, the rank changes, the new game mode and everything, in an overall level for League, even though Rift is the main focus, there's a lot of stuff happening to where I think even non-Rift fans, somewhat like myself, are going to be happy about this. And there were some really good changes to a lot of the champions too, like Lissandra. Like, I think that was a really good change. Overall, I'm going to stick with 7. Tentative number, could change next patch. Next patch is going to hopefully be combined with this one. I might take both into account, we'll see. But that's basically going to be it. So, 7 out of 10 Mark Merrills. I hope everyone enjoyed. And I'm going to continue streaming and playing games well into the night and get no sleep and continue to get bags under my eyes even though I have work soon. All at Twitch TV/Tecnics channel. I hope to see you there and I hope you enjoyed.